3, 2, 1. We are live. Welcome everybody to tonight's live stream. Free and easy. Questions from everybody in the chat would be great tonight. And if you put those questions in capitals, please. And we've got Alison on doing the moderating tonight for us. So that's great. Thanks, Alison. Paul, Rev, how are you doing?
How you doing?
All good, mate. Yeah, been a busy old week, and yeah, not just unexplained nature, everything, but yeah, we're back around to Sunday again, aren't we? And we'll, like you said earlier, Les and Rev said, well, just before we went on, let's have some questions, please, in capitals. Give us your thoughts. Let us know what
this shows
floats your boat regarding unexplained. You know, let's hear what you've got to say, because that's what it's all about, actually. I can see Dark Angels in, Jack's in, Keith Ladd, Kay and Miles, is it? Stargazer, Ralph Winter, Alison's doing moderating, as you said, Enigma, Nuki Brown. One thing before we do start, Pat Adams, right? It's your birthday, isn't it? Happy birthday, Pat.
Well,
yeah. Happy birthday, Pat. Yeah.
Happy birthday to you.
Yeah, we've got to do it. Happy birthday. Yeah. All good. I hope you've had a great day. And Gavin's still crazy. Mally Dodgson. So, yeah, all good. So what's been happening, Les?
Well, I've been doing some editing there for our future production, Paul, today. So that's all been pretty progressive and getting sorted out a little bit. We've got a long, long way to go, as probably people realise, going by the length of the last film. It took us 3.5 years to get onto the market, but it's there. And if anybody who hasn't seen it, everybody's coming to the stream tonight from anywhere in the world. I'll get in the right direction. It's up there to buy or rent, but it's only available in the UK and America. So there's no round the world sales on the Amazon, I'm afraid.
There are ways to get at it, but
there is ways
to get them.
I
wouldn't know how to get them, obviously.
Yeah, it's kind of costly for us for a little independent production that we've done. So. But in the future, we'll look into things like that, I'm sure.
And the DVDs, obviously, are for sale on the truthproof.uk website. So anybody who wants to buy a physical copy, just purchase them there, as you can get the books as well. Truthproof.uk, all Truthproof books. So what's been happening, Rev? You been busy?
I've just been looking into the advanced, non-harmful advanced weaponry that's been developed in the last 20 years or so. That's quite an eye-opener. That's backing up some of my theories about being able to mess about with frequencies. So yeah, that's interesting.
And in view of what I managed to film on Wednesday, I mean, you were quite interested in that, weren't you? For anybody that doesn't know, and I know that not everybody's going to be looking on social media, but I managed to film some lights again under sea. Not great footage, but for the camera experts out there who tell me, have I heard of a GoPro and all these other things, that these cameras simply wouldn't have seen it. It was that dark. But there's two glowing objects under sea.
I think I've got a picture here, Paul. Shall I
yeah. Let's cover these, and let's have some questions for people's views about them. Now, I've said that they look like two spanners. They were stationary for about 10 minutes. I was with Ian and Pete. We could see these lights, and the fishermen about 400 yards up on a stand were putting a torch on them. So that oval of light that you see is not from the object. The white object that you see under the water, we could clearly see with naked eye, but they could see them as well. And they were lighting them up for about 10 minutes until they did wherever they went, they disappeared. But they were stationary in that position. Now I've got 4 minutes of that. I've not really cleaned footage up, and I don't think we're going to get too much out of it. It's the filmed with Psionics camera, which is good in low light, but they have to be. I mean, you can see all noise in that picture, can't you, Les? Any views on that? Anybody? Tell us in chat, or have you got any views?
Yeah, just give us a few more details on that one, Paul. How far away do you think it was from the coast itself?
Well, put the other picture up, please, Les, and then if that's possible.
I think we've got one with a cliff edge.
Right, so if you look on left-hand side, that you can see what looks like it could be a shoulder. It isn't. That's the cliffs. So
Right.
you can see now, so that's how sheer it is at Bempton. So that is the cliff. So you can see how far, you get an idea of how far out it is. And I don't think we're more than 2 to 400 yards out. That one that's lit up once again, the white one under the water. We ain't got a good picture with them both in, but it's literally, I don't know, a distance away from it, just on a parallel line. And if somebody had said to me it were a fish that were turned on its back and you could see its white underside, I'd kind of take that in. But it weren't moving; it were absolutely static. And you'd got some movement in waves and that, and these other two that look like, well, I've said they look like open-ended spanners, but definitely whoever were fishing on them cliff tops could see these. And they were, the entire time that I was filming them, these big, powerful torchlights were going onto them. Not to help us. They were looking at them themselves. We didn't even speak to fishermen.
Do you think people are going to say, well, obviously you're going to get bioluminescence stuff?
Yeah, but water's very cold, Les, and I'm not saying it's not bioluminescence. We can't rule things out just because we want it to be of a paranormal nature. There could be a perfectly earthly explanation for this. I haven't got one. I'd have thought water were too cold for bioluminescence.
Right. Fair enough.
But if there's somebody in chat that can enlighten us, then please do, because that's what we're all about. We want to solve these things.
How deep do you think the water was there?
I think we're only looking at about 15 to 25 meters there. Maybe not even that close under cliffs.
So just to be clear, this is the light shone by the rock anglers, right? And where you say that it looks like a
those are the objects.
That's where it looks like a spanner there.
Yeah, and then the one obviously to the right hand side of it.
Right. Yeah.
Those are the objects. Yeah, I mean, I'll put some better photographs up in next. The screen grabs from moving footage. There's probably about 4 or 5 minutes of it, and then so we looked down and we realised whatever it was has gone. So we didn't see lights move away or anything. Unlike the other one that we got about 2 or 3 months ago, that definitely moved out to sea until it went out of sight and then come back. So yeah. So I can see a question here, Les, but I don't know whether you want to put it up.
Yeah, you put it up. Can you put it up at your end?
I don't know if I can, but I can read it.
All right, I'll put it up. I'll probably got it here. Which one is it?
Could all these underwater submersibles with us? Could it be underwater? Yeah, of course it could. It could be all of them things. There's a lot of rocks there. It might not be feasible to shove a submersible under so close to rocks, so I don't know, but we can't rule that out, can we? I know there'll be some researchers and some people out there that say, "Oh, it's an alien base out at sea." We can't say any of that, can we? We've got no real knowledge of that. All we know is that there's something illuminated underwater. And don't forget, back in 2018, I was with Dave Barnes, police officer. Not that means out, but Dave's a good bloke. He wouldn't say he'd seen it if he hadn't. And we filmed that object. Well, you can't deny it. It's filmed. And Dave saw it come out of Filey Bay and travel all the way along till it were in line with us. I don't know if you've seen that bit of footage, Rev. I think you have, haven't you? And it
same.
That goes into sea. So there are objects entering and leaving the sea that don't look like anything conventional. I got a report from a member at RSPB a few years ago that himself and a female member of staff had seen a red object, a red sphere of light, enter the sea. So, these things are there. What they are, I don't know. I suppose that if we knew what they were, we wouldn't be talking about the unexplained, would we? Anybody?
No,
any viewers?
I mean, a lot of the stuff that I've been looking at, funny enough, there has artificial I think it was some sort of a mixture of sort of artificial intelligence and biomechanical intelligence, and it was DARPA, so it's the American Defense. They were developing dolphins, and what were the other thing they were developing? Tuna.
Really?
And it looks just like a dolphin of a tuna, apart from it's full of high-tech sonar, and they were using them to scan and monitor the ocean beds. So it might be somewhat like that. The other possibility, because as Pat's just pointed out in chat, it looks like there's 3 objects in that picture at the top of, there's looks like there's 1, 2, 3. It could be possible that it's tuna that you're picking up. I think there's been shoals of tuna that have come back into the North Sea because it used to be quite a big game fishing area off there.
Do you know off Scarborough, Rev, they used to catch tuna 50, 60 years ago, like you've just said, shoals of tuna, and massive shoals of fish. But I'd rule out tuna. I'm pretty sure it wasn't fish. If it were, well, the one on the other picture does look like a fish that could be on its back. But these two, I stuck camera on them for well over 2 minutes at one session. They never moved. So to me, that rolls out a shoal of fish. Do you know what I mean? They didn't move at all. I have no idea what it was. And I can see this question here. Me and my wife saw a submerged glowing orb in Croatia in 2016. It shot under the surface so fast it left a wake. See, like a railway track. Wow, that's incredible. Absolutely. And we'll throw it out there. If anybody in chat wants to share anything and they've got a microphone and a camera, just say. And if it's possible, it might not be possible tonight, but if it's possible, Les can fire them the link and you can come on and tell us about it. If that's what you want to do. Are you okay with that, Les?
Yeah. It's sometimes it can be a little bit risky, but we know people who come into the stream. We know some of them work very well, don't we?
Well, most of people here, I don't think they're going to come onto the stream and.
But we can try things like that without a doubt. Right, I've just got a follow-on question from 40 and 23. Did they look as though they were together, Paul? Were they moving or pulsating at all?
They were just white under surface, 40, and we could see them without the light on them. It was clear to see them, and they were just. I'd have said it were a dull, glowing white under the surface of the water, and they weren't moving. No. We were good 4 or 5 minutes. And as I say, I'm pretty sure the anglers further up could see them as well because that aided us, that light. And when we actually do show footage, when I put the footage on, you'll see that big, powerful light is moving from one to other. And why would they just aim that beam in that area of the sea if they couldn't see them? And maybe they were scratching their heads thinking, what the pictures don't show as well is there's a straight line on a few images of footage as the light's moving about. There's a dark line, which I can't work out what that is either. But so
I don't know if you talked about this, but Enigma is asking, is it possible to estimate their size?
I think it probably would be in daytime, but they'll have been big. My good friend Andy Barmby, who's one of I would have said one of the best anglers in England. I don't just mean in Eastern North Yorkshire. Is renowned for his work with fishing for bass and things and tagging them. But he's always in between Speeton and Bempton if he's going fishing. He knows the tides really well. I think I've spoke about him before. He'll go and get himself cut off by the tide, incoming tide. Just because he wants to be in a choice fishing spot, whereas if it were me, I'd be panicking. But he knows when to get there and when to get back, kind of thing. So where am I going with this? Andy, when I've been up there with Andy will be saying to me when he said, "You see those rocks down there that look about the size of washing up bowls?" Use that as an analogy because that's what he said. They're actually the size of buses. They're huge because you're looking at Speeton and Bempton, you're looking 300 to 400 foot from top down. So seabirds, they just look like little specks. So whatever these were, they're quite big. So when you say estimate size, I couldn't say, they were 30 foot long. Obviously, I can't say that. But whatever they were big. And, I've been down on ropes. And he's right about what he says with these rocks that don't look that big from the top and the huge.
Yeah. 1423. Is the research boat still off the coast, Paul? Could it be there monitoring these lights?
Well, what Rev's just said about these, and when we little time with what you're saying here, 14, what Rev's just said about developing these high-tech fake fish, should we say, that are scanning and monitoring seabed and various other places. I suppose they'd be good for covert jobs as well. Then, as well, I would have thought, Rev, until somebody pulls one up in a net and realizes that it's not quite going to fit in a tuna fish.
Yeah, well, I think the US Navy and the Russian Navy have got fed up of trying to train dolphins to do stuff, so they decided to do it that way so they can control them. So yeah.
Because jumping, we'll get back to what 14 said in a minute, but jumping from that, they did train beluga whales and dolphins in the past, didn't they? And with things that fixed to their heads that they could fly, swim to the side of a boat and attach a magnet. And then
that's right. Yeah, they could put mines on them. Yeah,
essentially, they've created a weapon with these mammals that sort of swim about in ocean. But where were we with 14's question, Les? In view of what Rev's just said, and in view of the fact that this research vessel were out there, and I don't know if it still is, but it was, it could be something that's being deployed. But I just never saw them move. They were just static. 1 minute they were there, they just, you would have thought you'd have seen them move away. The lights that we saw a few months ago definitely moved out, and they moved a long distance in about 3 or 4 minutes.
I think you've just answered Keith Lard's question. Did they seem to move within intelligence?
No, they were static, Keith. And but the one from a few months ago, that moved. I wouldn't say with intelligence, but it moved out to sea, and the distance that it covered in 3 or 4 minutes weren't hundreds of feet; it were miles, and then it came back in.
Was it moving in a grid? So was it going out? As it, like they were surveying, or
no? It were probably under cliffs, whereas these are at the left-hand side. A few months ago, it were right-hand side, and if you picture that we're at 12 o'clock, it moved out at 2 o'clock. Yeah, and that's where it went, and then it come back. We've got both on film. As I say, it's so difficult. I don't know what kind of money I'd have to spend to get a camera that could do better. I mean, than psionics, and that's, you know what I mean. You're probably going to have to spend like 15-20 grand to get something that can actually see really well in dark. You're spending £1,000 on a psionics camera, but it's, and then you can spend a huge amount of money on a decent camera like the Black Magics and what we're using for Wolflands, but they can't see in dark. Do you know what I mean? It's horses for courses.
Yeah. Well, yeah. The disabled Welshman is saying, could they have just been boulders, Paul?
They could, but bear in mind, Welshman, that I'm up there, I don't know, 3 or 4 times a week in around the same areas, and why would they glow on that night? I don't know. I can't rule out. There's a lot of rocks under there.
Yeah.
So
it's an even more difficult subject to investigate, because with the UFOs, you can see what's between you and the UFO, but with what's going on under the surface of the water, you can't see any more than what you're just getting a glimpse of.
That's correct. You're spot on. But I mean, we can't rule out. I mean, if I go up there in week, Welshman, and I see them again, and they're in the same position, that's worth considering. But when I've been going up there for years and I've never seen them before, so I don't know.
Right, just a little off topic, but a relevant question all the same. Alex Thompson is asking, Paul, any plans to have Lee Nicholson back on the stream soon?
I'd love to have Lee back on stream. We were actually up on Cliff Tops last night, and I think he's been up for a few days. So yeah, we'd love to, because he's got so much knowledge. He's vastly underrated, if that's the word. He's just really good at what he does. He's very thorough. Yeah, I'd love to. If anybody with any suggestions, people in this chat, or if you know of anybody that you think would be up our street and up your street, then let Les know, let Rev know, let me know.
Yeah, or if you want repeated guests on, like Lee there, then yeah, put that in the chat as well if you want to see somebody who we've already on in the last who we've had on in the last 3 years.
Yeah, well, I think we've got Steve Stockton on Thursday. Is that correct, Les? I think so. And I mean, he's a wealth of knowledge. I mean, the amount of information that he puts out is absolutely incredible. So quite looking forward to that. And it's an easy job because he just does it for you, doesn't he?
Yeah. Okay, then, Ed. Let's have a look then. We've got the Guitar Nomad. The orb in Croatia returned late at night and resurfaced, and I saw it. A bright yellow orb. That's interesting.
It is, isn't it? You know, it just goes to show, although we know this, it's not somebody who's saying any big revelation, but they're everywhere. All oceans and all the seas, they're everywhere. It's just a matter of being vigilant, I suppose. Most people just go around looking at their phones, don't they? Or just they're not really paying attention. Who's going to be stood on these cliff tops? Who's going to be in these locations? You know.
Well, that kind of leads me on to this next question then from Enigma. What about getting into a boat out at night?
No,
that's a definite.
No, I've got friends in Arbor. You know, Tom Quinn. Some people, if you're from Brid, you'll know Tom. And he said to me, "Why don't you come out on boat with us, Paul?" No. Little story, totally un-UFO related. My dad's brother was second officer in Navy, so it's not like they're into an history of people going to sea. But when we were in Bridlington, our Sarah were a young, I don't know, she'd have been about 14. She says, "Oh, Dad, let's go on speedboat that goes out into Arbor, from Arbor across the sea." So I thought, "Oh yeah, let's do it." So we get on the speedboat, it's full, and we ride it back. And shall I tell you, I knew as soon as I were leaving that harbour that I wanted to be back on dry land. I was frightened. I have no fear in saying it. I hated it. Every second of it. My mind were working overtime. Nobody had got life jackets on. It were there a bit of a swell. It were a bit choppy. And I'm thinking, if this turns over, we've gone. Do you know what I mean? It didn't.
Well, I think that's the problem we've got down there at the bottom of the cliffs. There, as you said earlier, there is rocks under there, and
yeah,
nobody in the right mind's going to take a little rowing boat up there.
It changes so quickly. You've got a lot of currents and rip tides of what they call Ed End at Flamborough and around Bempton. I think there's about 5 converging. It's. Do you know? There's more ships in late 1800s and early 1900s come to grief off Flamborough and Bempton than anywhere else in UK. Yeah. And literally, because it's such a. And I'll tell you what else I found out that were interesting. A lot of the people who survived to tell the tale said that the compass malfunctioned, which is fascinating when we've got this magnetic anomaly. And I've got stories from fishermen who've said we're steaming out towards some fishing grounds and suddenly compass is just going absolutely daft. I'm not saying that's the reason in every case, but yeah. Lots of the screw trawlers and what have you. Go on then.
Nudge, Spate, Paul and team are the best since sliced bread, along with David Politis. Well, thanks for putting us in the same pigeonhole as David. Yeah.
Well, that's good of you, Nigel. Thank you.
Thanks. And, we'll take anything. We'll take any compliment tonight. And let's have a look then.
Well, we could go for a trip out on a boat. I've seen Paul doesn't want to.
You don't want to go. Yeah.
Paul doesn't.
We could do it.
Yeah.
I'll quite happily go and sit out on a boat at night for you.
Yeah, why not?
There we are. Shall we all
happy to watch you from cliff tops?
Yeah, well, I could film you back, couldn't I? You see, you could get it from both angles.
Yeah, Keith Ladd. Keith Ladd is asking any chance of David Icke or Nick Redfern.
I don't know. We could try. I mean, I could probably.
I don't think David Icke would be. I think that'd get the YouTube probably turned off if you had him live on YouTube because they're quite particular about David on it.
I don't think he's on no more, is he? Simply because
they took him off.
Is the channel? I'm publicising him here, but is it Iconic? I think
it is. Yeah.
Yeah.
Took his channel off, but other features still feature him in other interviews, don't they?
Okay.
Yeah.
Nick
you might have a problem doing it live. But.
Nick's got a very varied interesting subject, and it'd be great to have on. I'll contact Nick Redfern. I don't see why not. I met him a few years ago. And can we get this? What we got here? We've got Ian Linford. Can you see that question, Les?
This question here.
Hi, Paul. Strange that the Navy was doing it. Yeah, that's correct. Ian were up on cliff tops with me, and there were a frigate out there doing a sweeping pattern the night after we saw the lights under the sea. Yeah, you're bang on. I'm glad you're here because I'd forgot that. So yeah.
Yeah. And
I mean, there's a lot of military there has been for the last few years in the North Sea, with worries about Russia. So yeah, it's possible that there could be, I don't know, Russian subs or something that's perceived as a threat that they're looking at. You know what I mean?
Monitoring, yeah, too right.
Right. I'm just going to change it around a little bit at this point and go with this one. So do you think Dogman is extraterrestrial? Terrestrial?
I don't know. I don't think it's here, as in some kind of resident bipedal creature that's managed to avoid detection. I don't think it's here like that. I think it's definitely real, but I think it's from some other sphere of existence and just keeps slipping in and out to ours. I don't know what your view. Well, I have an idea what your views are on this, Rev. But what do you want to say about it?
Yeah, so extraterrestrial, as in it comes in from outer space. I don't think so. Yeah, I personally, I believe that it's some kind of hybrid creature that's been developed over thousands of years that we're unaware of, and it has the ability to come in and out of different, I guess, dimensions or whatever you want to call it. But maybe it's just cloaking itself, but it certainly seems to be able to do whatever it wants to do. So it can be whatever it wants. Yeah.
So yeah, I agree with you. I don't think it's extraterrestrial. I don't particularly. I'm leaning towards more and more towards the fact that although we've got all them, it's teeming with planets and stars and galaxies up there, and that's been the staple explanation for people who want to deny that there's something happening. And how could these things possibly traverse all these distances? I don't think they've got to do. I think they're already here. You know, it's just
Well, I mean, a lot of the technology. Sorry.
No,
I was going to say a lot of the technology that I've been looking at is all about implanting voices and images into people's heads as part of a psychological war, or as the military describe it, they can put information direct to the battlefield. And they do this by having it's a light that they fire at speed of light, and it somehow causes like a plasma ball in front of it, so it can create the sound or the image, and it can pass through whatever's in front of it and only appear at the target they want it to. So it almost seems like that technology could kind of be used to impart a Dogman into somebody's life if they've suddenly turned up in an area that they don't want them to be in, as security, because it seems to act like that.
Yeah, that's good, and that's kind of plausible for the Dogman, if we want to call it the Dogman. But it's not really plausible for historic UFO sightings and things, unless that technology. We know that people say, "Oh, what we're seeing now is 50 years old or however many years old," but there's UFO sightings that are incredible that go back a few hundred years, aren't they? You know what I mean? So
yeah, I mean, I guess if you think of it in terms of that, then the technology, as we said before, from their point of view, doesn't seem to have advanced any in the form of the crafts. So maybe it's just a case of information that we're only just getting, but they've had it a long time.
Yeah, as in you're on about these other intelligences now, aren't you? Not some military elite that's developed some. Yeah, that's where I thought you were at first. Sorry. Right. You got to add to that, Les?
No. Well, yeah, just that I don't think it's extraterrestrial, and I think it's already here, and I think it manifests itself in such a way as maybe maybe human emotions can evoke these appearances. Take the military out of it for a second, and maybe it's all conduited. That ain't a word, I don't think, through us. You know what I mean? Because we have people.
Also, maybe it's channeled through us. Is that what you're saying?
That's the chat. Yeah, that's what I was looking for. Because people with either high intelligence or they have some kind of different mental capacity, to dare I say it, just normal people, then these are the people that seem to experience these things.
Okay, thank
People
you.
that seem, they seem to be wired into different. They use different aspects of their brain, don't they? So they seem to get it, don't they? It's interesting. But we're all electric, aren't we? Well, everything from us
completely.
is that our nervous system. Everything's electric, and it all reacts to different frequencies. So yeah.
So what we got there? Have we got the Keith Loud one on? Yes. What do you think of the origin of the Men in Black? Government agents, aliens, or hybrids? Good question. Do you want to kick off with that one, Paul?
Well, I don't know. It's a question that every one of them answers could apply. Let's assume that let's assume they're alien hybrids or some kind of alien tech, just like what Rev's just been on about, that they're making mechanical fish that can scan seabed. Humans are making them, but let's assume this is some kind of alien tech. Then if the governments of the world knew that, they'd employ it, and not employ it, but they'd make fake MIBs to mix things up and further confuse or muddy the waters for people who've had genuine UFO encounters. So, in my opinion, it could be all of those things. I wish I'd got an answer for you, because all we're doing is speculating. But Men in Black, government agents, alien hybrids, both.
Yeah,
I think when you look at how government department works, whoever knows about the aliens or whatever they are, there's lots of people in different departments that don't know out about that, so they're going to try and do what they're perceiving in the real world to do, aren't they? So yeah, you're going to get it from every different angle.
Yeah.
So, yeah, but it's fascinating though, isn't it? How the accounts are very similar, and the historical accounts, they still come through. People still see very similar dress, hats and
strange,
stuff.
and the cars that don't fit. Big old black American cars that don't fit. It's nuts, isn't it? That
Okay, I'll put this on. Oh, I think we've already had that one up, but I won't make an apology. I think
I saw a question from Joel earlier. I don't know, but I don't know.
We'll get around. We'll get down there, Paul. Yeah. Right. So thanks, Nige. Yeah, Spike, for that.
I got one. I got.
Let's have a look then. Here we go. Right, here we go. We've got Shrevel is saying, I would like Rick Allen and Pat Adams right again, please. That's good.
Okay, yeah. Rick kind of stirred him up a bit, didn't he? I tell you what, we're thinking of doing a panel debate with a few people. Obviously, myself.
We can't name them yet.
We'll not name them yet.
Approached them, no. We ain't approached them yet.
I've approached a few of them already, to be honest. But
and what was the response?
That off. You're sorry.
And what was the response?
Yeah, they want to do it.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I spoke to Chris Evers today actually, and I spoke to Rick, and they want to do it. So we shall. And I'm going to tie Steve Meyer in with this, and we'll see where we go.
So
and obviously.
Yeah, I think I'll turn up for that week myself.
Yeah, that'd be good.
Yeah, okay.
Put your microphone on.
Yeah, Astral Pathways, UFO author Nick Redfern does do the podcast circuit, so he would be an ideal guest.
Agreed.
Yeah. Right, Joel Burgess, welcome to the show, Joel. If you're still there, question for Paul. Has he told you and the Rev about the strange encounter with the guy with the mobility scooter up at Dane's Dyke?
Yeah, well, I guess I've got to do now. Joel's brought this up.
Yeah.
But listen, before I bring it up, my disclaimer: this is no slant on anybody who uses a mobility scooter, But it was just a strange circumstances. I found myself on cliff tops last week, top of Dane's Dyke, took a bit of gear with me, and I don't know, about 7:30, Joel arrived. Sat there talking, just killing time, looking for these lights. We'd had some reports earlier that night. There's 2 ways to get back, people. You can go through the woods to the car park, or you can go down a set of steps that take you to the beach. And if the guy who it happened to is watching this, apologies, but I've got to tell the story now. So he goes down the steps, complete darkness, and there's a guy in a mobility scooter at the bottom drinking a can of lager.
Yeah.
So, oldish chap, and gets talking and said how he'd had his mobility scooter souped up, and it had got some special batteries in it. So Joel said, "Are they lithium?" And he said, "Yeah." And they had a conversation. Well, I'd had enough. I was going. His little dog had already took a pop at my dog, and he kept walking forward with his dog. So rather than be rude to him, I just said, "I'm off," and I carried on walking. So Joel caught me up. The guy says, "I'll be back. I'll be up in a minute." Telling us how fast this thing was. Pitch black, absolutely dark as anything, and you've got a drop at one side at Dane's Dyke of about 30 foot, and then you've got a wall which has been built when house were built, and then you've got another little drop, a gradient that goes down about 10, 12 foot at a steady gradient into nettles. And we're just getting near car park, me and Joel, and there's this noise. I wish I could do it. It were like plastic breaking and things tumbling and crunching, and we looked at each other and laughed because he'd crashed. He'd crashed his mobility scooter. Sorry for people, but we weren't going to leave him. I said, "All right, I'll better put dog in car." So I put dog in car, went down with the light. Sure enough, the mangled up mobility scooter, and he's just crashed it. And we went and got some lads, and we reversed it out. So it is a strange one. Thanks for bringing it up, Joel. And if I'd have had a GoPro,
don't drink and drive.
Don't drink and drive. If I did have the GoPro. If I'd have took it with me, we would have had a brilliant shot there that would have been a bit interesting. Well, great, because young lads who were sat under shelter, just all talking near a cafe. There were about 7 or 8 of them. They were absolutely falling around laughing because the guy weren't hurt, by the way. Obviously we wouldn't have been laughing if he were hurt. But
did he have a light on his mobility scooter? He said it was a 30-foot drop on one side.
No,
he didn't have a light on it.
He just decided
So he was lucky he didn't go over the side then.
There were no traction. So I think what's happened is he's lost traction as he's going uphill because it's quite steep, and it's spun round and then he's just gone. If he'd have chose other side, it would have definitely been an ambulance job. But he chose the side where he just wanted to smash all his mud guards off and everything else. And yeah, there you go. There's the story. Thanks for that, Bill.
Yeah. Nice one. I hope he's okay.
No, right. He were okay. Yeah, he were fine.
South Coast Tricky, thanks for joining us on tonight's stream. So back to the underwater lights. Have underwater lights been reported close to bathers or boats? Interesting.
Not under those cliffs because you'd not get nobody sort of swimming around there. And I think they'd struggle with kayaks and stuff. It's pretty hazardous bit of water. But fishermen have seen the underwater lights. One of the people that we filmed, he'd been in contact whilst the lights were being seen Les Tunstall.
Yeah.
And somebody further down coast had seen one under the sea coming towards him. Filey, I know that they've seen lights under Filey Brig. I've got reports of that. So, and moving about at speed. I mean, I'm not ruling bioluminescence out, but jumping to the one we saw a few weeks ago, that travelled miles in 4 minutes. I don't think bioluminescence does that, but I don't know. So, yeah, it has been reported. Could have done it that quick, couldn't I?
Blue Shift is asking, Paul, have you used a laser pointer to check for anomalies at sites where there have been these anomalies, as the beam will bend if there is a trace residue behind? Interesting.
He's right as well. Myself and Chris Turner did that. We did a laser pointer test and set it up with a target and everything where the anomalies have been. We've tried it. We've not had any results with it. One of the people who goes out with us onto cliff tops has a laser pointer. I mean, and obviously won't point it at aircraft, but it's used to effect for some of the things that we're looking at. So yeah, good question. Thank you.
Well, I think this next one is alluding to the the boat trip with the Rev. If Rev can sort it out for 2 weeks' time, I'll join him, says Patrick Daniel.
Yeah, we'll have to work something out then.
Yeah.
Who's got the boats? Where can we get the boat?
Yeah, we'll have to get a
I'll
boat.
just get one. I'm sure there'll be somewhere in town that'll get one, and we want a foot pump to blow it up. And
I don't think it'd last 2 minutes on them rocks, would it?
and I'll get you both one of them rings with like a swan in front, just in case.
Yeah, I'll have a flamingo.
A flamingo. Yeah. Cheers.
Right. So what we've got here? We've got Octopus Rad. I'm the one who saw the thing near the train tracks near Sowerby, Paul. Still wondering what it is 10 years later. Can you tell everybody about that account? For those who don't know.
Depends, because there's been a few things seen near the train tracks. So there were a cat sighting near train tracks.
Right.
And there's a cryptid sighting near train tracks. So, we'll touch on them both if you want. But I know at Bempton Station, a woman saw what she said were a panther early in the morning. And when you say Bempton Station, people not familiar with this area, you probably only get 2 or 3 people on platform, and that'd be busy. There's no buses or shops there. Do you know they come and wait in a car to pick you up? It's pretty much on edge at village, and there's just a stop for train. So there were a cat sighting there, but I don't think that was 10 years ago. So I think I know where we're going with this, and I think your name starts with W, or your nickname does. And you're the guy who were on Martin Road, and you were walking home after being at your girlfriend's or your partner's, and you saw this thing in the distance, and basically what you talked about, or you told me about seeing a huge fur-covered creature that you couldn't recognize, or you'd no reference point for what you were looking at. And I know you had to. I don't walk past it because I think it disappeared, didn't it? It went down towards train tracks, but it must have been pretty frightening for you to have done that, because then you had to walk along Jewson Lane, where myself and Les interviewed a delivery driver who saw this thing cross road on Jewson Lane. You remember that, Les?
Yeah, well, we still might be featuring that story in the next.
And then you had to walk to Bempton, and I think I'd have been a bit nervous after what you've seen. If that's the one, if it's not that story, give us a bit more information and we'll go for it. And if you want to come on, we'll turn the camera off. We've got 15 minutes left, and you can just go on audio and tell people about it. That you'd probably do a better job than me. Come on, dog. That's all right.
Okay. Well, let's have a look. We touched on this a little bit earlier. Warren Hardcastle, do you chaps feel a Dogman comes through portals from different dimensions then? They're not extraterrestrial, or
just words, aren't they? I don't mean your words, Warren, but they're just names for some of the slipping in and out of reality, or in and out of our reality into another one. If it's a portal, then yeah, different dimension. Yeah, I don't know how it works, and I haven't got those words fit.
I mean, it's odd, isn't it? Because we were talking about how the grass with one of the accounts, as it disappeared, the grass went down in front of it.
And then come back up.
Yeah, it's kind of like it has an ability. Maybe it's not going into different dimensions, or maybe we're all in the same dimension and it just has an ability to disappear and manipulate everything that we can't.
Like the angler on the beach at Hornsey, who said that he saw on that wicked sea, really high tide, really rough sea, and he saw the black figure in the darkness walking up along the beach. And he stood up, because he were crouched down because of the weather conditions, and he stood up to sort of stretch his legs, and the figure stopped, and he said it pixelated and disappeared. So that might not be no other dimension. That could be spot on what you've just said. Do you know what I mean? Which is a frightening thing. Sorry, let's go on.
Well, I've got something really radical here then. What if it's us that are going in different dimensions and they're already in one dimension, but we're meeting them? Maybe it's an inversion of what we think.
Well, I don't know. Maybe it's like it's people who claim to have seen ghosts, and the ghost looks as shocked as the person who's looking at the ghost. So obviously, yeah, there's stories like that, aren't there, where people say, I saw a ghost, or what we would call a ghost, but when it looked at me and looked just as shocked.
Yeah, well, there was the one that I saw when I came down the stairs one evening, and I put my hand out to turn the living room light on, open the door, and stood in the middle of the room with this fella, and I thought somebody had broken in, and he looked at me as startled as I must have looked at him. It was like like I caught him off guard. It was strange.
Yeah, and similar thing upstairs, house we're in now. Before I converted it, everybody does it. You know your own house back to front, even though it's a huge old house. This one, I'd just go upstairs in dark, not put any lights on, until I got to the room I wanted to be in. So I got onto the middle floor, and one of the girls, because they were all living at home, come into the hallway downstairs and put light on. And there was something there, and it just froze, and it went like magnetic filings. You could see that's what it looked like, filings all around it, and then just disappeared. I wrote about it in Night People. It's crazy.
Okay, I got a question from Welsh Rebel. Les, have you had an encounter with a cryptid? If so, what happened? If not, would you like one? I've not had an encounter with a cryptid.
You had an encounter with a big black beast, didn't you?
Well, yeah, but would I like one? Well, to be honest, yeah, I would. I'd like to experience something of that nature because me being me, I'd try and rationalize it or try and dissect what I've experienced and put it in some kind of context. Yeah, so I would like to experience something more than what I'm experiencing now. Definitely.
Yeah.
Okay, so Stargazer Eternal, do we know of any physical trace evidence of dog / wolfman?
No. Well, people talk about finding footprints, but then there's other side of it where everybody talks about these things almost gliding. I was sent some pictures this week, literally 2 days ago, incredible pictures of what looked like, if you wanted to call it a werewolf, Dogman foot, with the foot, the bone, all rotting. And he asked me he told me where he'd found it. He didn't tell me at first, but he stood with Wellington boots on, and he's put this in between his feet. It's clearly real, and they've got great big claws, and this foot's rotting. And I'm thinking, what is it? He says, could you tell me what you think it is, Paul? And I looked at it, and I noticed on some pictures it looks webbed. It's a walrus. I'm sure it's a walrus's front. It's not a flipper, is it? What do they call them? Is it a paw? But it's a front limb. Yeah, and I'm sure he won't mind me sharing photographs, so I'll get them fired up. And I told him what I thought it was, and he come back to me and he goes, "Thank you." He says, "I think you're right now." And I think he said he were at Cleethorpes or Mablethorpe, about a mile from beach when he found it. So it sounds to me like it's washed up and some animal, fox or something's took it. But it really does throw you. I've never seen out like it. But when you look at a walrus with they've got great big claws.
Yeah.
And I've asked him if he'll get me one at claws, to be honest with you.
There's a good question from 1423. Yeah. Have you considered using multiple bright torches to try and send Morse code type signals from the cliffs yourself, Paul, to see if you can promote a response? And just type friendly.
No, but it's what you're saying, Fortune, is interesting, because I've noted that a lot of anglers, we know I talk about these rock anglers, they don't all see these lights, but a lot of them who are seeing the lights, they've all got head torches on. So you could say for bulk at year, there's no lights up there, there's nothing going off up there, but then they get stood up there in winter months and they've got head torches on out to sea. It's almost like I thought it played with idea, is that seen as some kind of communication, but then I kind of threw idea away, because if you look out to sea and look at horizon, you can see boats lit up everywhere, so they'd all be getting interaction, wouldn't they? Maybe. Let's see.
£10 super chat from Cole. Thank you very much, Cole, for the super chat. And it comes with a question, Paul. Paul, I've seen your ILF orb videos. Have you ever seen a classic flying saucer disc craft?
No, I don't think I have, to be honest. I say that loosely because you forget a lot of things that you've seen and experienced. What I saw at Sledmere, what a tube-shaped thing, definite shape in daylight, but not what you would call a flying saucer. No, took my grandson Reg down to Danes Dyke once, and I've never even wrote about it, but just for briefest of seconds, I thought I saw an highly polished lozenge-shaped thing near cliffs. And it was one of them, did I see it, didn't I see it moments, because when I looked, I saw it, and when I looked, kind of again, double-check the one out there, what I wanted to see something too bad, I don't know. But no, I've used it out like that, Rev.
I haven't, no.
No.
I haven't even seen any orange or UFOs or whatever you want to call them. They've always been either a silver or a sort of bluish colour. Yeah, but yeah, I've never seen a typical UFO. I've seen long ones. I've seen lots of lights that split into other lights, but yeah, never seen a saucer-shaped one.
Just briefly, because I know it's short on time here. I spoke to Carl Dan and his wife last week. Went up to meet them up against Lighthouse, and they'd had some incredible sightings with spheres of light, and got some pictures which he sent me. Well, I downloaded them today, sent me them yesterday, and his wife were looking at them with binoculars and could see something structured inside them, which is interesting, So, maybe I'm not just saying that these things, these orange spheres, are flying saucers. I mean, that's just a word, in it, flying saucer. But maybe there is something structured behind these lights. Like we talked about the guy who I wrote about in Truth Proof 4, who saw bronze-looking pyramids inside the orange spheres when he looked at them. The military contractor. So, yeah.
Okay, I've got about 7 questions in, guys, with not
Pushing
much
it,
time.
really.
Yeah, I'm going to be pushing it. Not so much a question, but an interesting. My uncle used to, from 1423, my uncle used to tell me when I was a kid of a pub of Scarborough that had a small mermaid above the bar. It had been found in a fishing net, allegedly. Don't know if it's true or not. I don't know if you'd heard of that one.
I don't know if it were a mermaid, but I do know at Skinning Grove that they found a mermaid. There's a story of them finding a mermaid, and they kept it, and I want to eat fish, and fed it fish, and it eventually went back to the sea. So that's a story from Skinning Grove, which is further up the coast. Interesting, isn't it?
Yeah, I'm really going to have to rattle through some of these. Sorry about that. Branch Snapper, could you get a drone out near the underwater lights?
I suppose so. If you no is the word. No, because at Seabirds, I don't think. They're real keen on. I don't want to seem to promoting people putting drones up at cliff. They're really keen on protecting seabirds. It's an RSPB reserve, isn't it?
Protected area, yeah. And right, okay. So let's have a look. Right, then there we go. From Fred Flintstone, what do the local commercial fishermen think about the underwater lights?
I don't know. I don't know. The ones that I've spoken to who've seen lights underwater and experienced that kind of thing, that's all they'll say. It's almost like the fishermen, they're not interested in unexplained phenomena. They're there to catch fish.
Yeah.
So, seriously, I know it sounds silly, but that's the attitude you get with a lot of them.
Stockholm Pearls and Views. Paul, does little Bobby pick up bad energy or anything bad which might be in the woods? Good question.
Picks all sorts up in house, balls of wool, sellotape. He never stops. But no, sorry, I did a short a few months ago in Danes Dyke, and for some reason, I don't know why he did it, but he wouldn't come. And I'd comment on it. I said, look, he's just stood there. He won't move, look. And he's just stood. And then he kept coming and then stopping. But I don't know. It's only a pup, isn't he? I know dogs do pick up on things, but
yeah. And just put me right. Was that the video with the animal parts in trees?
It was the animal, yeah, with the deer.
Okay. So
remains in trees.
Yeah, they can do. Here's a good one. Baby with the laser. Has Paul heard of any cases where the orange spheres have interacted with people?
I think so. Yeah, I think Mick Sigson's case in point. Fisherman who'd been up there 50 years fishing on and off, as man and boy, as he said. So the guy who saw the spaceship land on the cliff tops, we'll keep it quick. We filmed him. He told us all about that. Said he'd never seen the orange spheres. Put the cameras away, and two appeared. And I don't mean in Evans, two appeared. So we're watching them. Got the cameras out. Went to film her. Turned off. So I suppose that's some kind of interaction.
Okay, and the one who knocks, Paul, are your books available as ebooks on the Play Store or wherever you get your?
They're available on Amazon as ebooks, and somebody told me today that they had trouble downloading them. So if anybody does, please contact me to Paul Sinclair ilf@gmail.com, just out of interest, because they only commented on that today. So yeah, you can get them as ebooks, yeah, or truthproof.uk as paperbacks.
Okay, and then we've got Patricia Adams, right? Paul, what was the shape you saw with your dad?
A big luminous lemony white sphere near power station at Mexborough. Yeah, so it was circular, Pat. Yeah, happy birthday.
Yeah. And I think we did the next one, so I'm on to the last one.
Well, yeah.
Right, here we go. V. McCrinnan. And have any of the panel heard or seen any of the dumbbell-shaped UFOs in Yorkshire?
I haven't, no. Have you?
Yes, yeah, I saw one. Well, when would it have been last year? Not last year, year before. And I was watching a sphere. It came up the valley fairly low and passed over my head, steady pace. And 15, 20 minutes later, it came back, but there was two of them, and they were joined by what looked like a tube. And they just continued on. It was the same night that you had a report at Wilsthorpe about the same time.
Right, yeah.
Interesting, that one. No, I've never seen anything yet.
And I think Mick's seen, Mick Park had seen something similar.
Yeah, which is interesting. Different parts of the country and things like that were being seen in a similar time frame. Yeah. What are you doing?
And I think that's our last question, guys, for tonight. And
right. Well, thank you.
Thanks everybody for sending your information in and for suggesting stream people for us to interview on a live stream on a Thursday. So
Nick Redfern came up a few times, in it, which we'll go for that and some of the other names.
Yeah, one or two other people I think we've got on the back burner who might be interesting for all you people. And that's it. That's all we've got. So on that note, then, Rev, have you got any parting words?
Just have a nice evening and enjoy the rugby.
Yeah, try your best, and I'll echo that. And thank you very much for supporting us. More questions next week, and see you then. We'll see you Thursday.
Yeah, and that's it. With no end screen, so we'll just end it where we are now. We'll see you next time. Bye.
Bye-bye.